Good afternoon, good evening, good morning for some of you. Welcome to our Zoom Big Book Workshop. Please join me in prayer for an open mind. God, please set aside everything that I think I know about myself, my brokenness, the 12 steps, and you, for an open mind and a new experience of myself, my brokenness, the 12 steps, and especially you. Please join me in the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I don't believe I introduced myself. I'm Herb. I'm an alcoholic. And we've been looking at column 3 and the prayer for the removal of deep resentment. We've been working with each person to confirm and to clarify their work in the third column. I think it's important to spend another workshop on that so that everybody has had their turn to explore their own work and to confirm and to clarify their own work with regard to unpacking the third column. I'd like to move on next week to unpack the fourth column. It's the paragraph, the final paragraph on resentment inventory on page 67. It's really straightforward. It has 5 questions in it. You've probably looked at it before. The primary question is the final question, number 5, but each of them are a variation of selfishness and self-centeredness. It says, referring to our list again. What list is that? It's the same list that we looked at and were referred to when we looked at our deep resentment, looking for the entire list of the third column and looking for the deep resentments. Not every one of them are deep resentments. Some of them are medium and some of them are shallow. Bill recognizes that the very deep ones we're powerless over and need prayer. So it's referring to this same third column list again and encouraging us to look at it from a different angle, which was in fact what we looked at in the prayer instructions. Putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. Now, I've given the questions their own sentence, and I've ordered them differently that's in the book. The book doesn't have any definitions, and it doesn't tell us what to do with it except to ask the questions. I'm not only giving you each one of those words in a separate sentence, I'm giving definitions in the Way of Life document in column 4. The assignment is really assignment 14. And I want you to just take a look at that and also to go and read and highlight in light of my comments that paragraph that I'm reviewing right now. It's very short. And then to take a look at the column 4 worksheet. Many of you have already done that. Some of you have had lots of experience with it because you've been in prior workshops or you've worked with a STEPS guide or a sponsor beforehand with the 4th column. I hope that it's intuitive and that it's intelligible. That's the intent as a standalone document. That's why the definitions have been refined over time, hopefully to be as clear as and effective as they're intended to be. But next week, I'll go over the fourth column with a personal example. And meanwhile, you could listen to one if you wanted to on the website so that you would have some ideas to the experience of completing it. But I would like you to take a look at it and make an effort to complete it on your own. You've got enough experience with the third column to look at it and read those directions and try to interpret them. It'll make the explanation or exposition of my own experience with the fourth column much more intelligible to you if you've had a chance to look at the fourth column, to read it, to understand it, and to perhaps try to fill it out or struggle with it. So the first question there is where we've been selfish, and there's another word, self-seeking. As I mentioned, he doesn't give us the definition. I do. I make a distinction between self-seeking and selfish. Self-seeking is behavior. And I moved it to number 1 question on that worksheet because it's easier to look at behavior, action, how do the feet move, than it is to look at motives, which is at least my approach to the word selfish. What am I thinking? What are my motives? Dishonest is very straightforward. Misrepresenting myself, either by commission or omission. Sometimes when we don't say something, we're lying. We allow others to believe the truth. Or in fact, it might even be denial, our own denial, where we're consciously or unconsciously suppressing or repressing. There's a difference, subtle, the truth about the reality that we don't want to look at. And then we go on. And you remember on page 62, Bill said, selfishness dash self-centeredness, exclamation point. That is the root of the trouble. Well, that's how this paragraph is composed. He's giving us 5 different facets of the diamond of self-centeredness. So underneath each word is self. Self-seeking and selfish, very straightforward. Dishonest, that's a survival mechanism, protecting myself. Fear, that's a protective mechanism, protecting myself. Though a situation had not been entirely our fault, we're looking at our mistakes there, fault. We tried to disregard the other person involved entirely. So we're not looking at circumstances and people. We're not looking at anything coming toward us. We're looking inside of ourselves for the source of our reaction that has created our resentment. And the final question, where are we to blame? Well, I don't like the word blame. I think it's got a negative connotation these days. It might have had a reasonable connotation in 1939 when the book was written. But today, with our psychological sophistication, I think it's much better word to use. Where am I responsible, or what is my role? Notice it doesn't say any place in this paragraph, what is my part? One of the things I discovered as I was completing this column 4 inventory is that I do not have a part in my resentment. I do not have a part in my resentment. I have the whole thing, not a part, 100%. My resentment is never caused by people and circumstances. My resentment is always caused by my reaction to people and circumstances. That is not a subtle difference. People and circumstances cannot make me mad, cannot make me angry. They can do what they do, and sometimes it's really crappy, sometimes it's tragic, sometimes it's even criminal what they do, or circumstances come together to impact us. But that's not the problem. The problem is never circumstances and people in this discussion. It's my reaction to circumstances and people is the problem. Where are we to blame? Where are we responsible? The inventory is ours, not the other person's. When we saw our faults, so he says, faults and mistakes he looks at here. When we saw our faults, we listed them, we placed them before us in black and white, again reinforcing that this is a pen and paper exercise, not a thinking, not a feeling, not a talking, but a pen and paper, writing it out. We admitted our wrongs, another synonym for faults and mistakes. We admitted these things honestly and were willing to set these matters straight. A signal to the 8th step, where in the 8th step it says, we made a list of the people we harmed. We did so when we took inventory. That's why some of those questions are in the 4th column, resentment inventory. That worksheet has references to fears. It has references to character defects. It has references to harm done. Also, that we can take a look at the source inside ourselves of our reaction, our unhealthy reaction to external circumstances and people. Column 4 was pivotal for me in my very first journey through the steps when I was 4 years sober in 1988. I didn't know it at the time. As I mentioned earlier, when we were beginning to look at column 3, the man gave me basically a checkbox approach to column 3, which I had no experience with. But he gave me really good direction, the direction that I'm beginning to give you now in that paragraph, and I'll complete in the next week when we unpack column 4 as with an example. After I had finished my steps, when I look back on that, I saw was the beginning of my spiritual awakening by my standards. That was the beginning of my experience that I am 100% responsible for my life, for my thinking, for my perceptions, for my emotions, and for my actions. I mean, I was 48 years old, and for the very first time becoming aware that I'm responsible for my life. It was embarrassing to see that I had been so delusional and so mistaken in the way I had led my life up to that point. But you can't see what you can't see, and you don't know until you do know. And when I look back on it, I'm very humbled by that, but also very grateful for the change that it was able to create in my life when I began to see reality as it is, and then to react in a more healthy way, taking full responsibility for those thoughts and those feelings and those actions and reactions. So I'd like to go over with you column 3 at this point, and I'll call on some names as usual.
When I resent mom for being emotionally unavailable and neglectful. Self-esteem is I'm an affectionate, nurturing, and always present, resilient, single mother of 3. My fear is that I'm actually a bad mother. Pride. I would like people to see my mom treating me like she truly cares, talking about my accomplishments with genuine interest and love. My fear is that she'll never comprehend or care. My ambition, what do I want? I want my mom to get off of autopilot and be present. Brunches, weekend getaways, shopping, conversations, just normal. My fear is nothing will change in our relationship. Security, what do I need in order to be okay? I need a mother who shows love and teaches me how to love my kids. Why? I don't know how to mother my kids. My fear is that I will never be the mother my kids need, and the cycle will repeat. Personal relationships. I expect moms to be selfless, caring, of service, intuitive about their children's needs. My fear is that I'm not. My belief about men, this is kind of, I think, father men. They're of service to those around them, calm, intelligent, caring for children, even tempered. My fear is that my kids will never have a man like this in their life. What women should be: independent, provide financially, present for children, always preparing children for the future, nurturing, strong, and homemakers. My fear is that I am not any of that. My affected value is, I was a little confused on this one. It's my emotional security, and nothing should interfere with my desire to be a perfect mother. My fear is that the cycle will repeat with my mother.
Yeah, yeah. So as you wrote it out, and now as you read it out, you're very clear with it in terms of the way it was written. What's your sense of your beliefs?
I mean, I'm perfectionistic, right? I want to be perfect. And perhaps I'm holding my mom to the same standard, which is not fair.
Oh, well, those are two different insights then, aren't they? I mean, the way you phrased it is that your view of yourself as possibly perfectionistic. I think you put it in the context that you didn't think that that's a very healthy standard for yourself.
Right.
Yeah. And then you suspect that you might hold that standard for your mother, and you also suspect that that's not a healthy standard.
Right.
So what you're doing is you're saying, oh, these are the things that I actually do believe. I've operated emotionally and physically on these beliefs, both with regard to my mother and with regard to myself. And they're not real.
Right.
So from my standpoint, had you ever had that thought before?
I have, but I still have it. I still expect it. So how do I stop wanting to be perfect?
Sure. Yeah. Well, do you want to stop?
Yeah. It
Okay.
creates a lot of unmanageability.
A lot of pressure that's unnecessary. That's right. All right. So the real answer to the question has many parts to it. Number one, do the fourth column to see what your motives are for holding that standard. Because this part is about your beliefs. The fourth column is about your motives. Then when you get to the fifth step, you will deepen your experience with how unhelpful it is to you and everybody else around you. And that might be helpful to you. But in the sixth and seventh step, you will have a tool in the seventh step to begin a prayer practice and perhaps an accountability practice that will help you have that character defect diminished. I'm using my words very carefully there because we're powerless over our character defect. You can acknowledge it, but you can't do anything about it other than, number one, want it to be diminished and removed and pray for it. But I added another component to the sixth and seventh step, which is accountability, where I would talk to my step guide on a daily basis with regard to my behavior with respect to that character defect. And you'll hear it later on in more detail, but my experience was that the behavior connected to the character defect stopped. The behavior stopped within 24 hours. But the inclination to the character defect didn't stop for 2 years.
Wow.
I know, wow. Well, and I'm saying it to reinforce that this is very slow stuff, although the behavior was what I really wanted to stop because that was wrecking my life. I was very glad to have the inclination removed after some time because, in fact, it made life a lot smoother. Yeah, all right. So And then when you finish your ninth step, of course, you're given another level of freedom. You said perfectionism, and what else did you see as your belief?
Sorry, I don't remember.
Well, it would have something to do with your not being enough with your kids. And it sounded to me like in your tone and in your words and in your approach that you're probably a pretty damn good mother. I don't know why I got that, but it was underneath sort of the resonance of what you were saying. So is your evaluation of how old are your children?
10, 8, and 7.
Okay, so you've been with them a while, they've been with you for a while. A realistic sense, what is your appraisal of the health of your children, of emotional, mental health?
I had them when I had my first when I was 20, and I was in a physically abusive relationship. Their father abused me and them. So I think that's my problem, is I carry that thing, knowing I allowed that to happen for 8 years. So I think that's what it is.
Okay, and so do you see any manifestations of trouble in your kids?
No, not really. Not since I've had them, but I do have the fear.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Your concern is probably warranted at some level, but not at the level probably that you have it. Those are my thoughts on it. What is your overall experience then with the third column so far?
Combined with all the ones I've done, I mean, it was very enjoyable when I got to do the whole stage thing, especially with significant others. I mean, just to see what I really believed, that was eye-opening. So I really liked it. It's taken down a lot of my ego to see it. But
my sense is that it'll also take some of the air out of the balloon of your perfectionism and make it a little bit more tolerable.
Right. And it has.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
There's 2 incidences from my childhood that bother me. My mother was the alcoholic narcissist clinically, and so my dad was the hero, right? And so here it is coming out the truth about daddy. Okay, when I resent, and I'm writing this, and this is kind of why I'm reading this one, is that I'm writing it from the guise of the, I guess, I don't know, 6, 7, 8-year-old girl that I was. Okay, is that, I'm assuming I think I recall you saying that's what we're supposed to do.
Well, let me, first of all, it's a memory that you have when you were 8 or so, but do you currently have the resentment?
Not actively. I mean, it's something that when I talk about my dad and any issues with my dad, that's one. And so it's like, it's the pebble in the shoe.
Got it. Yeah.
So
it's irritation.
Yes. So that I'm referencing what you had said about,
Yeah.
I don't know, the third time you did this or something, like if it's not a glaring resentment, it's like the irritations, or I forget the word you used. Annoyance, right. And so I thought I need to write about, and it was very revealing to me.
Good, excellent. Yeah, I'm glad we've clarified it. Okay, so what's your self-esteem?
So I guess I'm asking you, before I tell you that, to correct me if, when I was writing it from the guise of an 8-year-old girl, if there's something that could be changed because of that approach. Okay. My self-esteem is I'm resenting him for being nice to my sister and I. We were grounded and we broke the grounding, and he came home early and found us, and we thought, oh, he was all nice to us. We thought, oh, we got off the hook. But then he told my mom, and we got an even worse grounding. And yes, every time I think of it, it grates just a little. My self-esteem is that I'm an adorable, sweet kid who knows how and likes to play in many ways. And my fear is that I'm a fool because I got caught. Others should see that my dad treats me as a wonderful, young, enthusiastic girl, deserving of either truth or grace on the spot. And my fear is that I'm not safe with dad. I can't be me and trust I'll be taken care of appropriately. Ambition. I want a dad to have the courage to fill the shoes of his God-given authority so I can trust him. My fear is I never know who I'm dealing with. Security. I need a dad who is consistent. Why? So I always know I can count on him. My fear is I cannot count on him, so I am alone. Personal relations. I expect dads to protect, care for, model good principles to their children. My fear is I wasn't worth it or I would have had this. Sex relations. A real man should do the right thing regardless of his feelings. And my fear is that men look tough, but inside are wimps like my dad. A real woman should always do what is best for the child in how she disciplines, not be so strict and where there's no love or grace. And my fear is that women have no ability to act on principle and do the right thing. They're either too strict or too heartfelt. What is my value? Nothing should interfere with, lessen my parental security, like my security in with my parent, like that I received from my parent, my dollars in therapy. And I wrote down my development, my development as a kid, my human development security. And I wrote down, I'm missing something I need because I didn't have this. I couldn't trust either one of my parents at a core level. And that's what that revealed. That's what that.
Yeah, yeah. I have a question that struck me as you were reading it back in Ambition, and it's about now your current ambition concerning this particular feeling, this particular annoyance, this particular irritation. What do you want now?
Oh, well, my dad's deceased, so it doesn't matter.
No, but your irritation hasn't.
Oh, I want to accept him as he is.
All right.
He's not, he got too much pressure. You know how you make the Al-Anon person God
Sure.
because you know the other one's a mess. And so I want to accept him and love him as he is, which I thought I did.
Yeah, yeah.
I do in many ways.
Yeah. Well, my ambition is to accept my father as he was, and who have this irritation, this slight negative shudder in me go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. And so does it resonate at all with any or stimulate any thoughts about a belief about men, for instance, for you that resonates in terms of an echo in your life?
Well,
Go ahead.
imagine that.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, and that's what was poignant to me because something like that just happened with my husband. Very, very much more minor because I do trust him, and he is according to my definition, a true, he does stand on principle, and he's trustworthy that way. And yet there was, yes, it is relevant.
Yeah. It taints the lenses through which we look because it's part of our history until we deal with it, surfacing it even as an irritation. So good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see my husband as a wimp. It's not like that.
No. What
Yeah.
about your relationships with other men?
In terms of that principle?
In terms of what we're talking about, sure.
I don't expect them. That's why I didn't want to read it to all the other men on this meeting, because I don't expect other men to be perfect. I mean, through meetings and stuff, I hear the hearts of men, and I embrace their imperfection.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was looking to my dad to be God.
Yeah.
As a kid.
sure, right.
So as my husband as well, I don't expect him to be perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
So
One
it's
of go ahead.
so it's different in that respect.
Yeah.
From a little kid to an adult woman. I've grown up that way a little.
Yeah, 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 yeah. One of the advantages of this workshop is that it brings together not only men and women, but people from different addictions so that the alcoholic can hear the Al-Anon can hear the alcoholic, and all of the other addiction people can hear not only the differences, but more especially the similarities to really say, well, although it's an addiction and it's an abnormality and it's a disease, it's still pretty normal within the whole scope of humanity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have a psychology question to ask you. I think that because my mother in her narcissism is still, rolling that out to this day, even though she's been sober, well, AA 10 years and then without AA the rest of the time, 40 years. And I don't think I was ready to see this about my dad because I've held on to that little girl thing like, oh yeah, my dad is my hero. I said that at his funeral, at his eulogy. And I don't think I was ready. I mean, now as I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, my dad, is a human being. Of course, he wasn't perfect. I couldn't see it. I mean, I couldn't embrace that until now. I don't know if is that realistic?
It's your experience, so it's just what it is. Yeah, yeah.
That's a good answer.
Well, yeah, it's just, I mean, we don't need to judge it. It's just what your experience is. The word I use for experiences like that is I'm in a constant thaw.
Mhm.
And as I get emotionally more mature, spiritually more mature, I thaw out enough to be able to see some stuff that I wasn't able to see beforehand. And I don't know whether that's the case with you, but it sounds very similar.
It does. Well, adult children of alcoholics are always saying, is that normal? Is that normal? Am I normal? Am I normal?
Because
So
we
that's
don't
what I'm
have
doing.
any reference point.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, you're asking what's normal? Exactly. Good. I'm glad you got a sense of humor there. Right.
I do, yes.
All right.
God's given that back to me. Thank
Thanks.
you so much, Herb.
So now you have a resentment, though, that you're sort of toying with in your hand on a third column.
Yes.
What's the
Yes.
resentment?
An old sponsor, when I resent Darren for saying that I don't need to see a psychologist because if I do a fourth step, it'll all work out.
All right. I understand that. So you have a resentment toward that statement. I would too, by the way, because that's a revelation of ignorance. But be that as it may, did you write down your self-esteem?
My self-esteem, my deep belief about who I am capable of recovery. I am strong enough to work through. I'm a survivor. I have proven that I can do this.
All right. And what's your fear? What did you write?
My fear is that I could relapse.
Okay. All right. Legitimate. Very good. Did you write pride there? Anything for pride?
That I can recover. Others should see me treating me as that I can recover. I have faith that I can recover and stop doubting me.
All right. And your fear?
My fear is that they can't see that and they don't have faith in what I can do.
All right. Very reasonable. Did you write down something for ambition?
Ambition, what do I want to happen to heal and fully recover?
And your fear is?
My fear is it's a lot of work.
All right. And security, what do you need and why? Did you write something?
I need to be believed that I can do this.
Why?
So I can have security in my relationship.
All right. All right. Fear.
I didn't have a fear for that one.
What comes up as we're talking? What do you, when you're,
That I'm not believed.
okay, all right, all right. Personal relations, did you write something there?
Okay, yes, I did. I expect Darren to have taken me through the steps and not give me advice on mental health.
All right. That's a very sound reasoning and expectation. And your fear is?
Well, my fear is that he didn't do that. He's no longer my sponsor, so I didn't actually do a fear for that either.
Yeah, all right, all right. In terms of gender, what is your model or vision of your belief about sponsors, for instance?
I believe that sponsors should take you through the 12 steps to the best of their ability, should not get involved in situations of personal relationships and give advice on mental health and relationships where they are not qualified. I believe that if overstepping those boundaries, they could do more harm than good, which I have found by personal experience.
Okay, so what did you write there then in the gender sex question?
Look, what do I believe about a man? I believe a man should be a provider, loving, caring, look after his family.
All right, all right. And your fear?
My fear is that I will struggle to provide financially.
All right, all right. Pocketbook?
Mm-hmm.
What did you write?
Pocketbook?
Pocketbook. Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to pocketbook, no.
Okay, so you completed pretty much the worksheet.
Yeah.
But it took me a lot of work to get you to read it.
Yeah.
What was that about?
I don't know, Herb. I just didn't. I've been
Yes,
putting
you
it off.
do. No, wait. You
Oh, look, because it's bringing. Okay, what I was thinking, because I was talking about a sponsor, and I've been receiving like sort of I'm a bit on the fence with sponsorship. Had a couple of bad experiences, and I'm sort of told that if you don't have a sponsor, you're going to relapse. If you don't go to meetings, you're going to relapse, and all that sort of
yeah.
pressure, which I don't fully believe in.
Well, it sounds to me like you have really good common sense. You have really good instincts. So you really do need to trust yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, because your instincts on his advice was, from my standpoint, right on the money, that he was stepping outside of his area of responsibility and, in fact, was dead wrong.
And there was another incident with the same person, which is another resentment.
Yeah.
He said that I don't deserve to be with my partner after hearing a fifth step.
And that's, again, you made note of that there in your relationship comment. So
yeah.
That's another very common sense insight. At your level of 12, 18 months of recovery, I mean, that's really good. You can actually, you got a really solid platform there. But it's curious that you had such little confidence in what you wrote. You actually were not going to read what you wrote until I sort of coached you into the canyon.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, all right, just, you did a really good job. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
You can have confidence in your thoughts. You can have confidence in your feeling. You can have confidence in the work that you're doing from the way I've interacted with you. All right.
No, thank you, Herb.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, so I did write about myself, and I said, when I resent myself for being hard on myself and disliking myself, it interferes with my self-esteem. And my belief about who I am, my deep belief is that I'm a precious and beautiful person with many beautiful qualities and assets. But the fear is that I don't like myself. And I wrote the word hate in the sense that I just so pray for transformation, because I see through this process that you call soul surgery. And it's like when you get surgery, it's a one-day surgery usually, but I feel like this is like long-term surgery.
Yeah.
I'm really in the middle of it. And it's so evident. It's like this stuff is so in my face, and I feel it, and it hurts. It hurts to see it. Pride. How do I want other people to see myself, treating myself? And I said, well, with compassion, a sense of humor, like a lightness almost, tenderness and acceptance. The fear is I can't accept myself. I have such a difficult time, and I want to accept all parts of myself. Now, the ambition, and this is my first time doing this part, I want to be at peace with myself and to be able to accept reality as it is and be comfortable with it. The fear is I'll never be at peace with myself. Security. What do I need in order to be okay? Well, I need to love and accept every part of me, because then if I'm for me, who can be against me? In other words, it comes down to just radical acceptance, I guess. Personal relations. How do I expect this relationship should be? Again, I said I expect to be at peace with myself and comfortable with all of me. I didn't write a fear for that one. And then
Say it again, and then just give me a spontaneous fear.
Okay, to be at peace with myself. I'll never be at peace with myself.
Yep, same message, exactly.
Okay, and then the sex one, I've done this during the workshop as I was listening. What came up was not so much women, but an ideal conscious person should be strong, self-confident, and secure in themselves and in God's love. Like just know that with no doubt, I am so loved and things are okay as they are. And the fear is I'm not whole. And pocketbook, again, nothing should interfere with peace of mind and joy of living. And the fear is I will always feel disturbed.
Yeah. So you're very clear in terms of the way you navigated it, and it's the most difficult one because it's so subjective. As you wrote it out and now as you've expressed it out loud, what's your experience with it?
Well, I guess my experience is that I feel it. I feel what I wrote. I feel it. And
what is it that you feel?
I just experience all these things that I wrote down. They're so, I feel my frustration at being this way. I feel so frustrated. And I don't know how to say this, but I have a prayer practice daily. I pray, I do my best, the best I can consciously. And I wish, as I told my husband, I said, I wish that I could be instantly healed.
Yes. Here's the thing that's coming to me. I should be better than this.
Yeah. And I just pray so much, Herb, that I may be healed of this.
Yeah. Well, good. All right. Do you see perhaps, though, you're not in radical acceptance of who you are? I should be better than this is a hammer over your head at all times, because you're never going to be the perfect saint that you aspire to be.
I know, but I so want to be able to accept,
Well, that's the key, isn't it? And I love the term radical acceptance. I think that's the name of a book.
From Tara Brach. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Have you read it?
No, but I do listen to Tara Brach. I do want to say this, and I know you'll understand because I've done work with the Enneagram. Mm-hmm. It's very much the one in me. I'm both a one and a two, but boy, I'm more of a 1 than a 2, and it's like the jury,
Yeah.
the panel,
But
it's all in fact.
But you see, that's an interesting information, but it's not an excuse and it's
No.
not a condemnation. You're not condemned to all the negativity of the one.
Yeah,
It's just interesting information that this is your inclination, but
Right.
you have tools and resources and free will. Yeah.
I do. I'm just, I guess, feel impatient because there's just, it's so
All right.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
and that's perhaps you want to make a note of that, because that's something that sounds to me like a potential character defect that you'll be dealing with in step 6 and 7.
Okay. Thank you, Herb.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure that everybody on the call as an addict can relate to you. I want the results now, because that's what we did with our addiction.
Sorry, it's from my mom and dad and the fighting that they did in front of me when we lived up north for my first 11 years.
Sure.
So my self-esteem was a sensitive child, loving child, kind, wanted to feel safe. I was naive. And my fear was that my parents would get divorced and they'd possibly start hitting each other.
Okay, so you're looking at an event that happened when you were 11 or before that, and these are feelings that you have about that now, right?
Yes, yes.
All right. So, all right, as long as we've got it's not about your feelings at 11, it's about your feelings now, about when you were at 11.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, right.
All right, go ahead then with
The pride, I was the best son ever, nicest kid ever, never did anything wrong. And my fear is I was basically a scared kid, scared of being alone.
all right.
The ambition was for them to stop fighting and get along and be loving to each other. And my fear was it didn't happen and it wasn't gonna happen.
Okay.
Security, to be free from fighting. And why? Because it makes me scared and insecure. And then my fear is that the fist fighting would start or something, that it would get carried away. Personal relations, what I expect, how I expect it should be kind, loving, made the children feel safe and secure. And my fear was my dad would leave or, they'd get divorced. As far as sex, gender, the male should provide security and be the spiritual leader. And my fear is that, he was just, catering to what my mom, and doing what she, dealing with her problems, begging her to come out of the room and doing all that type stuff. And a mother supplies love and nurturing, and she was capable of that with us kids, but not with him. My pocketbook is basically emotional security, and felt like that was in jeopardy. And my fear was to be able to something so that it could be repaired. They could repair it.
Okay.
So, basically with this, and the reason why I have one of the reasons why I have the resentment is because it's carried into my adult life, as far as slamming doors and locked doors and all that type stuff. If I'm in a relationship or something and we were fighting and the door gets slammed, I freak out because I go back to that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So did you surface any of your current beliefs based on this resentment?
Yeah, I mean, I want, I want to feel safe and secure even when I'm in any relationship.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't want it to carry into other things. I want to, and this has really helped because I really haven't. I mean, it is a resentment only because I've noticed it happening in my adult life, but it's not something that I was constantly thinking about unless it was happening to me. You know what I mean?
Sure. So what are you conscious of now as an adult, as the result of doing this work in terms of your beliefs?
Well, I mean, you have to love each other and
No, I don't want any platitudes about what you should be doing. No. What is your belief about should for you? Dave, should fill in the blank as a result of what you're doing here. What is your, and I'm looking actually for unhealthy beliefs. Have you seen anything about an unhealthy belief here?
yeah, about loving and well, I guess I'm not sure how to answer.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe just wait until we see what happens when you do the fourth column, and because that'll bring it up very much current. I'm not quite sure how to guide you here because you stayed so much in the past. You never did bring it into any type of a current perspective surrounding your current anger and resentment. You kept
Right.
it all at the 11-year-old level. So I would actually suggest that you go back and try to answer it from a current basis now, each one of those. It's clear and you did a good job, but take a look at it from the current reference point is my self-esteem today based on this event of yesterday about self-esteem and how do I want other people to see me today in light of yesterday. And I think
Gotcha.
we have a more current experience of surfacing what the connection is from the 11-year-old experience to the later on experience of your current belief systems and how that's influencing it. That's really the point here. All right.
Gotcha. I'll do that.
Yeah. No, it's good. I think you got a wonderful, strong platform to do it because you've got a lot of just really tangible emotion built into it.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Herb.
I didn't know that I was that kind of person, and now I'm seeing I'm not better than him. I'm not worse than him. I'm not less than him. I'm just part of the human race. So I never saw this. And then I'm seeing myself about money in relationships with my family. And it's past in relationships with, I think people owe me. They're entitled to take care of me.
I'm entitled to be taken care of was what I expected. But the way you said it is really funny. They're entitled to take care of me.
Absolutely.
That's great.
My belief.
Yeah, I got it.
And so now I can go into this relationship and it's really hard, but I'm not the greatest person in the world. I have to learn how to be humble and I have this attitude that he broke up with me and oh my gosh, well, I egged him on too. And so it's been hard for me to admit who I really am. That's been very, very hard.
All right.
I talked to my sponsor last night because I was really beating myself up when I realized
Yeah.
I'm not the most important person in the world. When I really think I am, I really do.
Yeah.
Especially, and so she said, just, put on meditation mood and ask for forgiveness, ask for forgiveness, ask to be forgiven. Now I know God forgives me, but I'm having a hard time forgiving me.
You're having a hard time forgiving what?
Forgiving me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
For being such.
I find that when we finish the 9th step, we experience. I have a different word for forgiveness because it's got a lot of baggage, the word forgiveness. When I looked it up in a dictionary, look at my hand, it says in the dictionary, forgiveness is a decision to release them. Just to release them. The prayer of St. Francis says, when I release them, I am released. The Lord's Prayer says, when I forgive them or release them from their debt, I am released. So it's a process that doesn't, from my experience, completely unfold until we finish with the 9th step.
But how do I release myself? I released him.
You can't release yourself,
I can't.
but you can be willing to, you can pray for it, and you can finish your 9th step. And when you finish your 9th step and you look back over your shoulder, you're going to go, oh, wow, I've been released.
Okay.
That's going to be my prediction for you, because it's my experience.
When I resent current boss and former boss for betraying me, lying to me, being just basically a pure salesman, and then not really saying whatever needed to be said to close the deal, even if
But not delivering the goods.
right.
All right. And so what's your self-esteem?
My self-esteem is my deep belief is that I am smart, I am capable, and that my contributions are valuable.
And your fear is?
That I'm lying to myself, or that they don't see me the same way, that maybe.
Those are two different fears. That's excellent. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, but you see the two different fears, right?
Yeah, but to me they're connected. Like,
Well, of course they're connected, but they're very different. And when you get to the fear inventory, that will be an important distinction to make, because you'll analyze both of them, because they're
okay.
two very different perspectives. All right. So pride, how do you want your fellow coworkers to see you being treated by your boss?
I want them to see him happy to see me, happy to have me on the team, valuing, seeking out my counsel on topics, and
Yep.
like seeking it out honestly, not just.
Oh yeah, you're his favorite go-to, absolute wonderful sounding board. Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
supposed to be that.
I know. And what's your fear?
Oh, that I'm not.
That's it. It's good. I mean, it's just that simple. That's right. And how about ambition?
What I want, well, it feels, well, whatever. I want him to value my contribution.
Yes.
I want to feel useful. I don't want to be redundant, and I don't want to be just bossed around. I want to feel
I
like.
don't want to be ordinary. I want to be his exceptionally good choice out of a hire.
Right.
Right. And your fear is?
That I'm just another, well, actually that he doesn't really value my contributions, that he just
Yeah.
wants me to do what I'm told
Yeah.
and to grovel.
Yeah.
And I don't want to grovel, and I don't want to, kiss ass. I want responsibility, and I want people to say thank you for doing such hard, good work.
Exactly. Exactly. And you don't consider your paycheck as thank you enough.
No,
Unless
unless it was, unless they tripled it, then that might be enough.
Oh, I get it 100%. Yeah. Uh-huh. All right. And so personal relations.
Well, security. Did we do security?
All right. Do security. Why? What do you need and why?
I think this one is really loaded for me. I want a guarantee that he appreciates me, and that I measure up to his expectations and to the team's expectations.
All right.
My fear, I need to say why. I think this is really loaded, but growing up, your value was placed in my family. Your value came from you had the potential to have your value come from either your looks as a woman, your appearance, or your smarts. When I got my career, I was like, I'm smart. I'm really good at what I do. So now it's okay if I get old and wrinkly and no longer pretty and young and whatever. If I'm really smart, if I'm really good at what I do, I still have value.
Okay.
So
What's your we got it. What's your fear?
that it's all going away, all of it. That I'm not that smart. I'm going to get old and ugly. I have no value to anybody.
All right. Personal relations, number 4.
I feel like we are colleagues and I should get equal treatment, even if he's the attorney and I'm the paralegal. The hierarchy doesn't mean that my contributions or my intellect or my,
Yeah,
problem solving skills are any less.
right. No, you're surfacing a belief here so that you can take a look at it. It's not right or wrong. You just have to take a look at it and then say, is this in fact healthy and realistic? That's all we're asking. What's your fear?
And I'll always be at the bottom of the heap.
Okay. All right. No right or wrong answer. There's just a feeling about it. That's right. Gender. What is your belief about men lawyers?
He's always going to want to be the boss, and I'm always going to have to be deferring to him.
Okay. All right. So that I'm not sure that rises to the level of a belief.
Okay.
Sounds almost like just an opinion to me. So when God made male bosses, what was the prototype look like? What was the model? What was the complete vision ideal in your mind?
The ideal or the reality? Like, what do I see? What do I feel? Or
Believe.
what do I believe? What do I believe they should be, or what do I believe they are?
Should.
Well, they should be kind, and they should
There.
be generous, and they should be gracious,
Yes.
but they're not.
Doesn't matter here. Now give me your fear.
But they're none of those things, and that I'm never
Exactly. All right.
good enough.
But that's the contrast I'm looking for you to articulate and write down. This is my belief they should. And my fear is, by observation and experience, they're a bunch of schmucks.
It's true.
Well, whether it's true or not, I'm trying to give an example of it. So look through those lenses now at your beliefs about women in the workplace especially.
We don't stand up for ourselves.
Beliefs, not fears, not observations, beliefs. What is your belief about this vision? What would be the ideal woman when you walk in and you go, oh my God, she's my role model because she fill in the blank?
She's smart.
Mm-hmm.
I think most important, she's not afraid to stand up for herself. If she's in a room full of men and they're all coming at it with the stupid frat boy bro attitude, and she's like, no, that's not right, or that's not the only way to look at it. She stands up for it with a well-reasoned argument, not emotional, not, but she just goes right back at them. And even though they will probably smash her down, she's okay with it.
Wow. All right. Now, you could condense that and take all your emotion out of it.
It's really hard to do that. Ask my husband how hard it is for me to take the emotions out of it.
I'm sure. So when you look at the ideal woman, then what's your fear?
That the woman will get caught up in her emotions, and then men will just.
What is your fear?
My fear is that I fear that when the woman is in the room full of men, she'll cower.
When I'm in the room full of men, it's your fear.
I won't speak up for myself. I'll be intimidated by all the testosterone, and I'll just shut up.
Right. But you see how I helped you kind of put some perimeters on your own emotions so that you could come up with an analysis here that was pertinent to yourself rather than a shotgun out there spraying it into the world.
It's hard because my first thought was, I don't see myself ever being in the room with a bunch of men. I don't see myself ever being thought of as smart enough to ever make it that far. So I had to sort of.
That's a fear. That's a fear. A fear is I'm not that smart and I won't make it.
Yes. So I could talk about other women out there, but it was harder to make it personal about me.
It's only harder because you're beginning to own that you have fear.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Man.
All right.
Okay.
So now as you wrote it out and as, well, let's go to pocketbook. What did you write there?
That if I don't play the game right, I'll lose my earning capacity will be diminished,
Yeah.
and that I'll be forced to work in jobs that I don't like, and I'll be miserable.
All right. And okay. And that's your fear too, then.
That's both.
Yeah. No, I get it. No.
Everything's my fear, but that really ties into my emotional security, because it really wrecks me emotionally when I feel like I'm stuck in a job that I don't like, or that I'm not respected, or doesn't allow me to have certain flexibility, mobility, freedom.
Sure.
So
You know, you have all of those things when you have your own business.
yes,
But when somebody else is writing the check, you say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am.
it's true.
That's just reality.
But even when you have your own business, sometimes you're still supposed to say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am.
No, that's a different situation. So, but know that this is only half of the story, third column. And when you do the fourth column, that will be the complete picture. But the one thing that you said that I knew immediately, sort of the end of the story, is you said, I'm as good as he is. He's an attorney and I'm a paralegal. That's just not true. Sorry. All right. That's just not true. Objectively not true. I don't care what you believe. It's just objectively not true. He makes 500 an hour and you make 100 an hour or whatever it is because of the difference in competency. You want to be treated with respect. Absolutely. You want to be treated as a coworker. Absolutely. But never get the fantasy that you're equally as a professional as he is, because that's just not true in terms of your contribution to the firm. And if you hold that stance, it's no wonder they got rid of you. So that's fourth column kind of stuff, but I wanted to kind of like bring a little bit of a reality into the conversation, at least from my standpoint.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
When I consider my daughter Ginny for not taking better care of her health, she's overweight and smoking, and has 2 little kids. My self-esteem, I'm a very wise, wonderful mother, a woman always working hard at making progress on my own health care and setting an example. And my fear is that I have been and am a poor role model for her. My pride, others should see Ginny, my daughter, treating me as the most wonderful woman, mother, valuing all my ideas, my actions, copying my actions, my programs of recovery, asking me what should she do, and then listening to my every word, bragging about me, sending me flowers, accolades, gifts, valuing my wisdom and my expertise. And my fear is that my daughter sees me as a fake and a hypocrite. My ambition, I want Ginny to have a healthy lifestyle and lose weight and quit smoking or vaping, and yeah, just be there for kids. My fear is that she'll struggle as I have with her weight. She will have a stroke and not be able to care for her children. My security, I need my daughter to have health and value herself to the highest degree. Why? So I don't have to worry about her or her 2 children. And my fear, I'm only concerned about how it reflects on me and that kind of issue. My personal relations, I expect daughters to take care of themselves and to be wise for their children. And my fear is that I'm not wise and I don't care about me. I'm a hypocrite and not a good role model, so why should she? For sex relations, a real ideal man should support and care for their partner. Her partner left her with the 2 children. That, I don't know if that has relation to why I put that in there. And then what is my fear? That they'll only look after themselves. And a real model.
What does that mean? Wait, who's going to look after themselves?
The man. Man in her life,
All
or
right.
in just
their
yeah, I wasn't.
responsibilities. No, I get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
woman.
And a woman should always take exquisite care of themselves, physically, mentally, be there for their children. And I wasn't there for my daughter, and I just point.
Yeah.
And for my value, affecting my value, my material security, emotional security, and well-being. I feel that I have concern in caring for my daughter, but I'm worrying about her hurting my grandchildren. She's a single mom. I may need to help support her monetarily, and it's going to drive me crazy. And the fear ultimately that I'm not caring enough about her in order to change my ways and be the role model for her and take care of myself so that I'm there for her. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in that. So
Oh
as
yeah.
you wrote it out and now as you read it out, what's your experience with surfacing any type of unhealthy beliefs?
The unhealthy beliefs is the shoulds, what other people should do, so that I'm happy, so that I'm okay. I mean, it's all about me. And I don't know.
Well, right now, you just cracked like you did just a little bit ago. There's a truth that's being pointed out to you that's very deep for you. What is that, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, Herb, I just lost my son on the 10th of January, and I guess that's part of this.
Oh my,
And
yeah.
so then, yeah, I know and so I guess I just feel that now I'm putting all this pressure on my other two daughters, and I'm not, I can't do anything about it. I don't know. It just shows you the powerlessness of it all and the stupidity of having resentments like this. It's really so petty.
All right.
So I guess,
That's what that's what you're experiencing. Well,
that's really, I shouldn't even have talked tonight. I'm sorry. I meant to
no,
email
you
you.
should have. First of all, obviously you're aware that you're in grief of losing your son. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
And you're I mean, it's like the present moment. Exactly.
Yeah, but I know that life goes on and I need to be there for them too. And I want to get better so that I don't know. It's like this unrealistic expectation that
you probably don't need to do anything other than be aware of the feelings that you have and process them. You don't need to take any action on behalf of anybody other than yourself.
That's the unrealistic expectations I think I have, that if I could be all that, then you could protect your kids,
Yeah.
And that's really the poor unrealistic beliefs that I have. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So you've got adult daughters who are building their own lives, and you're a caring mother who just needs to really take care of herself at this point, especially for the next year as you process the loss of your son.
Yeah, I know. But
well, you say so glibly.
Yeah. But it's that unrealistic thinking that you could prevent it. You're all that you could prevent anything from happening.
Yeah.
And it's really unrealistic. So anyway.
It is, but you want to.
Yeah. Big time. Mm-hmm.
And so do you have any exposure to Al-Anon?
Yeah, I belong to Al-Anon and I go to meetings. Mm-hmm.
All right. And you have a sponsor in Al-Anon?
Mm-hmm. And an FA, yeah.
Well, I'm more interested in Al-Anon for you at this point, because these are people who are very exposed and experienced in dealing with loss and grief and pain in relationship. So it's really important. Pick out one or two or three of the very more substantial wisdom women and please establish a bridge of connection for yourself for the next 6 months minimum. It will really help you. It won't take the pain away, but it will help you process it in a healthy way. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good. Thanks.
Thanks.
I resent Melissa. She's my trans daughter's partner. Okay, I resent her for being irresponsible mother and adult.
All right. And your self-esteem?
I'm a strong person who takes actions to help others. I'm a good parent or parent-in-law, and I'm a good example and a good advisor.
And your fear?
Is she must not feel safe around me, and she doesn't ask for help. But she also knows if she doesn't do anything, I probably will help. So my fear is that maybe she's not doing anything because she knows I'll step in and help.
Okay, all right. And pride?
I want Melissa to treat me as a person that she can come to for help, advice, counseling, that she feels safe around. And the fear is that, you know, she won't get help for herself and or for her children. So the fear is that, that she's not going to get any help.
Yeah.
My ambition, what I want to happen, I don't want to feel like I will need to step in to help. And yeah, I don't want to feel like I need to step in.
And your fear?
No, that won't happen. I'll see a need and I'll step in.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Ambition, I mean, security?
Security is that I need Melissa to take responsibility for herself and her children. Why? Because I don't want her to be dependent on me financially, mostly.
And your fear?
That she's a burden emotionally and financially on my family, on me.
Mm-hmm.
Personal relations is, I expect, adult relationships, whether they're male or female, to be healthy with strong boundaries, with healthy boundaries.
And your fear is?
She won't change, and it'll always be this emotional, financial burden. And, my fear is I will step in.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that.
Right.
So I expect whether, the sex relations, whether, that men and women for that matter are self-sufficient and can care for their families when they're adults. And my fear is that I'll need to support this family. The pocketbook is, my inner peace and my finances is affected, and that the other adults do not care for the needs, especially of the children, as much as I do. So, and the belief system I have is that family helps family.
Yeah. And is that your fear also?
It is. It's it's a blessing or curse. She is the partner of my youngest who has special needs, who I have had to really work hard since toddlerhood.
Yep.
So it is, there's a lot of emotional and financial impact on it. And
Sure.
I am always balancing stepping in and not stepping out. There's, where that balance is. And, I just see that, she's irresponsible. So,
so if you were to look then and sort of summarize from your writing and now your reading of it, our dialogue about it, what's your belief?
Well, I believe I'm going to go to my library and read Melody Beattie again, because I read that like 10 years ago.
Exactly. Good. Yeah. That would be my number one recommendation for you. All throughout what you indicated, it was you used every word about codependency other than the word codependency.
Yeah. Well, I see it for what it is.
And, yeah, you do. Of course.
And my thoughts are one thing, my behavior is another, but everything in me wants to just take action. And it doesn't stop me from being really pissed off that, being an adult in my head, just, I can't talk to her about it.
Yeah. Have you begun the practice of prayer for the removal of deep resentment?
I have. I actually took that out and I made a copy and wrote down every person's name on their own little copy to say
There you go. There you go.
on their column.
Oh, no, that's great. I can tell that you're involved. You got some traction with it. A couple questions that will be helpful as you begin the fourth column is, and you don't need to answer them now, although it probably would be helpful just in the general conversation. How old is your daughter?
My youngest is 20, going to be 29 May 1st, or March 1st.
She's the one in the relationship that you're talking about.
Correct.
And how old is Melissa? Is the person?
Yep. She's the same age. They're
All right.
both the same age.
And do they live with you or live on their own?
Oh, they live on their own.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well,
they,
that's a good thing. Yeah.
but guess who helped with that?
Well, that's your choice.
Yeah, that was. And actually, that was a really good choice. No one's living with me.
Oh, I see. There you go.
Yeah, my husband.
No, I get it. 100%. Okay. So you're going to have a reinforce. You're not going to have a new experience, I don't believe, with fourth column, because
Okay.
you've already had it. All throughout your reading of the third column, you were totally in touch with the underbelly of the motives.
Yeah.
And the unhealthiness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you were quite clear about that. So you're going to just reinforce all of that in the fourth column, and perhaps it also will give you some clarity as to about what will be the healthy course of action for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Wonderful. All right.
I need help.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But keep us in the loop. That's a good story. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I resent myself because I was asked to leave work for an incident that happened because, so I don't know if it's the parent that I resent, but it's really me because I discussed sexual behavior and the parent asked for me to not teach the course. And
So who are you resentful at?
myself, because I feel like I stuffed up.
Okay, I see. I feel like I made a mistake and I'm angry with myself for putting myself in this situation.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, got it. All right. What's your self-esteem?
I'm a brilliant teacher and yeah, I'm a brilliant teacher. I'm trustworthy and conscious.
And your fear?
I'm crap. I'm inappropriate. I don't have the right boundaries and can't do it.
No right or wrong answer. Those are just your feelings about it. What's your pride? How do you want other people to see you teaching your classes?
I'm clear. I'm solid. I'm perfect. I don't make mistakes. I'm courteous. I'm correct.
Yeah. All right. You say that as you really mean it. All right. And your fear?
I'm rough. I'm unemployable. I'm inappropriate. I'm a criminal. I'm a sex offender, which I'm not, but you know, they're the
Oh,
thoughts.
it's the feeling. It's not the truth. It's not reality. It's just a feeling. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really uncomfortable
Yeah.
scenario that happened.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
Ambition, what do I want to happen? I don't know if that means about the situation or what do I want, like I want it to be resolved.
Well, this is a resentment that you have toward yourself for being inappropriate. All right. So what is your ambition?
I want to talk to the parent. Oh, what is my ambition? I put here to be wanted, to be loved, to be seen as the best, the coolest, the most open, the most approachable teacher.
All right. And your fear is?
I can't work with people and I'm not that. I stuff everything up.
Okay. Yeah. One of the thoughts that came to me as an ambition was I want to not make gross mistakes.
Yes. Well, that's a something. Yeah. Not make gross mistakes. Not make any mistakes, really.
And the fear is I'm a mistake machine.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So you're becoming more conscious of it. Let's try to finish. Security.
Okay. Security. I need, security. What do I need in order to be okay? I need the parents to call me and to say, I understand
Did you answer why?
why I can't do, why, because I need, I said I can't do any wrong. Because
Okay.
I can't exaggerate.
No, that's your answer. It's not right or wrong. It's just your answer. All right.
Yeah.
So
why
what's
do I
your
do
fear?
that? Because I can't concentrate and I can't.
Yeah.
I-
What's your fear?
My fear is overstepping the line, being dumb, upsetting others, being hated, being disrespected, not being trusted.
Yeah.
And really, oh yeah, okay. And
Personal
really,
relations.
never being able to be employed, never being able to work with people,
Yeah.
just being like a complete fuck up, like a complete
Ostracized from your career community.
ostracized
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Personal
blacklisted.
you have something for personal relations?
How do I expect this relation to be? Clear, solid, confident, safe.
And your fear?
I just kind of, it's all the same.
Okay. You want to say it, what it is?
That I'm not, that I'm, I suppose it would be that I don't know the words, that I'm dubious, that I'm like, that someone might think, oh, we're unsure about her.
Yeah. She's not really competent.
Yeah.
All right. Gender relations.
Gender relations. What is my belief about women? That women should be calm, should be intelligent, aware. They should be godly and always comforting.
All right. And your fear is?
Just that I'm not that.
I'm none of those things.
I'm not those.
Yeah. All right. Pocketbook.
Nothing should interfere or affect or lessen my my inner peace, my pocket, my inner peace. Just all of those things.
Yeah. And also the method I use for my livelihood. Nobody should get in my way. Yeah. And your fear is?
Yeah, like I'll never be employed again. I'm doomed.
Yeah.
I'm a failure. I'm not employable and I'm blacklisted.
Okay. All right.
And fear that I fear of like my feelings.
Fear of what?
My feelings.
Yeah.
That my like the feelings that come up as a result of being so sensitive that I won't be able to get back on the horse again.
Yeah.
And that I might have to fight for myself. Like
Yeah.
there's a bit of fear about that.
Yeah. So
Having to convince somebody or to reassure.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to, just get it, guys. That's not where I was coming from.
Yeah. Well, intentions are interesting. Intentions are interesting, but irrelevant in light of behavior. Behavior is the only thing that counts in the outside world. Intention is the only thing that counts on the inside world. Yeah.
So, yeah. And
Yeah.
you're talking.
So what's your experience in writing it out now and reading it out in terms of your beliefs?
Or the beliefs about myself is that I have pretty low self-esteem.
I'm not sure what it is. I don't know whether you do or not.
Well, I don't know. What do you mean by that?
Well, but it's just what do you get from doing that third column? And you've done other third columns. What do you see about your own current belief system?
I don't know.
Okay. Just hold the question and maybe review that whole thing in meditation and prayer to see, so what is the belief that is undermining me? Because it's not about a belief that's true, it's a belief that's delusional or a belief that's demented. Spend some time with it and review it with your sponsor and in prayer, and just and maybe take a look at other third columns that you did to see if there's any echo in those third columns in terms of something similar about a corrupt or delusional belief system. That's all.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's close with the serenity prayer. What can I influence? What can't I influence? I really need wisdom to see the truth. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.